it works. It's the look that I was looking for. It's just that I have like a centimeter of space to move.
Hey,
because the
listen.
wall is right here.
Hey, listen, I've gone from basement where I was making a full studio to
Right.
upstairs where the internet stinks to
Right.
back downstairs next to that room outside of it, because we've turned that into like a little yoga recovery area. So
Yeah.
it's been taken completely. So I'm trying to figure out where I want to go and how I want to do it. It's a process, you know, you
The
kind of
life of
jump
a
around.
podcaster. The
Yeah.
life of a podcaster. You're always moving. Got to be mobile and agile.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have like different kits. No joke. I had a kit I kept at work. I have one that I keep that I travel with. And then I have a full setup at the house. I've just been using the travel kit. Everything else is packed up right now.
Well, that's smart.
Yeah, because when I was moving to Pittsburgh, man, I was constantly having to find somewhere to do something.
Right.
You know, I was doing some national stuff, MLB radio, Outkicked. I was all over the place. And it would literally be, I'm in the U-Haul, driving, pull over, find a spot where it's kind of quiet, jump in to a podcast, and I would just link it to my phone. The place I got some podcasting were unbelievable. I was at a park one time on a playground. I did it at church inside. Didn't know whose church it was or why. Went into an office that we were looking at a condo. They locked me in. I think the guy got in trouble for it. Yeah, locked me into his office to do it there. Yeah, just wherever I could do it. I just was, you know, just a la carte.
That's like the dream for any podcaster. It's like, I want to be able to do this anywhere, and you did it. Well, you're paving the way for it.
Well, that's life, man. You gotta adapt, right? Because you never know what's gonna come. And you know, we were living in a time, or I guess we were in a time in our life that a lot of things were unpredictable. So we were just, you know, making do. And I was like, well, I got to get this in. I want to get it in. I don't want to cancel it. And I've done that a lot. It felt important. So I was like, I'll find a way. So if you want to, in anything in life, you'll find a way.
Absolutely. And with that said, it was a great intro to our brand new podcast.
There we go.
This is Bucking Around. I'm Cody. As you can tell, that's Fort Michael McKenry, the man, the myth, the legend. And you have just been blowing up, just doing everything you can. You're going, like we just said, you're going on podcasts everywhere. You got your segments on, it was AT&T Sportsnet, now changing. That's up in the air. Maybe we'll talk about that later if you can. But I don't know what's off limits. I know you said nothing.
Nothing's off limits.
When it comes to business, some things can be off limits.
Yeah, I know what I know, and I know what I don't know. So we'll be fine.
But yeah, you're doing it all. On top of that, you're getting into coaching. You're coaching Team USA, right? Right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all over the place. And right, wrong, or indifferent, the way I have to go in to figure it out. I'm not a person that can kind of logically map it out, put out an outline, then walk through it a couple of different times, ask a bunch of questions to figure it out. I'd rather just get my hands dirty, rather just jump in. So like with the podcasting, I've been through 7 or 8 different things I've wanted to do, made graphics, came up with names, tried it once or twice, didn't feel it, or maybe my gut was saying no way, and then moved on. And I failed multiple times, especially when it came to the audio, the visual, and everything else. Building a studio was an absolute disaster. Felt like maybe a horse trying to put together a Lego set. You know, I figured that'd be the best way to put about it. And you know, same thing with coaching and everything else. Even though I have an extensive baseball background, playing and everything else, there's a different dynamic to coaching because you have to figure out how to appeal to the player. How do you get that trust? How do you get them to take that next step forward? And really, it's about understanding who they are, where they come from, what makes them tick, what are the goals. And that kind of ventures into everything in life, whether you're doing business, whether you're going to speak somewhere, you try to figure out the people you're around, the reality they're in, and try to find a way to just sprinkle something on it that helps it grow. And that's what I try to do every single day of my life, is make things a little bit better. Sometimes I forget about myself. But all in all, I feel like my intentions are always in a good direction. And if they're not, I hope I get slapped over the head by a friend or my wife or God, whoever needs to slap me to get me in the right direction. So yeah, I'm an all in or all out type person. Good, bad, or ugly. It's been bad at times, but right now it seems to be good, and it's narrowing its focus. And that's always a good thing for me, because that means I usually get better at it and I can make a bigger impact.
Right. And talking about narrowing the focus, let's back up a little bit before we focus in. Your baseball career. Everybody knows you as Fort McKenry around Pittsburgh. You're the man. You're the quote unquote folk hero. Everybody loved
I don't know
you.
about
They
that.
still love you. Oh, you growing up. I grew up in that time of you guys going to the playoffs, and you were on the team, rebuilding the team to be a playoff team. That was like my formative high school years. So like you, and along with a lot of other guys, just like I keep you guys near and dear to the heart. And it's really awesome that we have this relationship through podcasting, and just to be able to talk to you is awesome. But we've talked about that before. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but I talked to you and Alex Presley, and excuse me, I forget your colleague's name with Meta New.
Yeah, Vince Duffy. Yeah.
Yes.
Former colleague, yes.
Former colleague. I talked to you guys before on Back to the Berg back in the day, and we talked about that stuff. We talked about your home run and Press getting called up to the league, and you guys kind of seeing each other in the league, but you know, the weird paths you guys both took.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really want to know about is like, what was it like playing in all the other places you played in Colorado and St. Louis? I mean, both are obviously interesting. Oh, I was about like, I want to know. My big questions are: what was it like playing with Todd Helton? And then also, what was it like being around Yadier Molina, since you are a catcher? But let's start with the former. Let's talk about Todd Helton. That man is amazing.
Yeah, he should be in the Hall of Fame. So all
Absolutely.
you writers and media people out there that have votes, vote for him. Incredible hitter, incredible athlete in general. So I'm from Knoxville, so we're from the same hometown. So
Right.
Todd Helton meant a little bit more to me. So when I was a kid, not a big UT fan, but the best UT baseball teams in history, you can look recently. You can look in maybe 06, or excuse me, 04, 05, 06, and then 94, 95, 96. And that's Todd Helton, R.A. Dickey. That's when Peyton Manning was at UT. So when I think about the University of Tennessee and think about growing up, I don't think about much other than Todd Helton, Peyton Manning. So when I get drafted in 06 to the Colorado Rockies, it's the first thing I think of. It's the first Rocky I could think of too. And we happen to train with the same trainer in Knoxville. He's become one of my closest friends, mentor, like a big brother. And we stay in touch through him. So me and Todd stay in touch through him. And man, when I say this guy is a different breed, he's a different breed. And what I mean is he played through anything. He worked his tail off. He always wanted to find a way to help his team win, hated striking out, super competitive. And he gets this all from his dad. His dad was really tough on him, an alcoholic. And I hit with him. I hit with his dad when I was in pro ball just to, give it a shot and see what he did. And he was tough. He was tough on me. And he was really raw, but he told you the truth. And not that he necessarily taught me anything about my physical swing, but he did tell me, don't run with the dogs, you'll catch the fleas. And it's something I'll never forget. Like even if you're in a great place, don't surround yourself with the wrong people, because it'll end up, giving you the fleas. And I'll never forget that. And then he also said, stand there and believe like you're going to get a hit every single time. And I will always take that into account. Anything I do is like, believe what you're doing or don't show up was the next part of it. So I kind of got a little glimpse of what Todd was through high school. I heard stories about where he hit a ball and stuff. And, I was very good in high school. Probably some of my best moments in baseball. You talked about folk hero, hit balls that, people still talk about, and it's humbling. I remember crying when I got introduced to induced into the high school Hall of Fame at my high school, and they read my stats because I didn't know them. I was so focused on the next thing, I didn't really take time to reflect on where I was. And Todd was the same way. And I didn't realize a lot of this until I got older, but watching Todd, I was like, man, there's so much of him I want to be like, and there's so much I don't want to be like. But his persistent pursuit to be great was one thing I wanted to be like, and I tried to chase. He took me under his wing as soon as I got there. First big league camp, I'm near him in his little circle with lockers. When I got called up, I'm right next to him, and he gave me cleats, he gave me bats my first year. But when I got to the big leagues, I was right next to him, and every couple weeks, Peyton Manning would come with his big old head and take over my locker. So,
oh, that's awesome.
My first month in the big leagues, Peyton Manning would come steal my locker. I would have to run in, grab my jock, and go change somewhere else because it was Peyton Manning. I wasn't going to tell him to leave. But I got to hear them, tell stories, talk about their time at University of Tennessee, and then really just joke around. Those two were just clowns. I mean, you've seen the Manning brothers. Like, if you could get Helton and Manning together to do something like that, it would not probably be aired on national television. Probably have to be on HBO or Showtime.
That's got to be an ESPN Plus special.
Yes. Just really, really funny. And that's a part of Todd a lot of people don't know. But yeah, I was very fortunate when I went to Colorado. I mean, you think of some of the names, right? So I walk into that locker room, Todd Helton, Vinny Castilla is a special assistant, Carlos Gonzalez, Troy Tulowitzki, Nolan Arenado was called up when I went back there. He was part of that team. DJ LeMahieu, Matt Holliday. It goes on and on. Brad Hopp. There's so many great players that played there. A lot of them offensive players, but yeah, I was in awe a little bit when I first got to Colorado, my first big league camp, which was my first spring training, being in the likes of Marcus Giles and then Javier Lopez, who two dudes I looked up to. I just admired. Javi Lopez was my throwing partner that year.
That's awesome.
my favorite part, you said my nickname was the Fort. We're blocking off a machine, and this is old school. They wouldn't do this now. It'd probably be abuse. But those older machines would throw up to 90-mile-an-hour sliders. It's very similar to what they have now, but they use foam balls a lot of times because people that catch nowadays aren't maybe as tough. But I'm watching Javi Lopez block, and dude, his forearms are starting to whelp up. He cannot square it up. And I had no clue that for 10 years, this guy was good behind the plate, but he wasn't that good. He could rake, he could call a game, and he had the best pitching staff in the world. So it opened my eyes, making these guys human,
right.
And then I'm over there blocking it. I have welts all over my chest, but through my chest protector, but I was squaring it up. And that was one of the first times I really believed in what I was doing, that I could make it, because I watched a guy that I really looked up to in Javi Lopez and Todd Helton, and I was on the same field doing some of the same things and in ways doing a couple things better. And that made me realize, man, I have a chance here. I really, really have a chance, because we always doubt. Even if you say you always believe you're always going to get there, which I did, you always have some self-doubt that kind of pulls you back and says, I don't know. But Todd made me believe it. He was really tough on me, and I'll forever be grateful for him for being real. He was always real with me, and you can't ask for more than that when you think about a teammate or a friend.
Absolutely. I love that you said in high school you didn't pay attention to stats. That's that's old school. Like,
yeah, our coach didn't release them. How about that? Our coach,
for real? Like,
we were the only school in the state. Yeah, we didn't release them until districts.
Oh,
so
wow.
like by the time that happened, like I didn't read a newspaper.
Right.
I honestly, Cody, I did not know my stats. I had no clue how good I was. And I say that with the most humility ever, but at the same time, I needed to know how good I was. I wish I did know. I should have been I had All-American numbers. I wasn't All-American, and probably because it wasn't released.
Exactly. You didn't release it.
Yeah. I mean, my numbers in the state still, I'm in top 10 in, I don't know, double-digit categories. Like Todd Helton, Michael McKenry, and that blew me away, man. I literally was tearing up. At a 20 stolen base season, I had no clue. Like, none of this was a reality to me until that moment I got inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I think it was 2014 or 2015. It was 2014. It blew me away, man. And it's something that I try to tell kids all the time. if you chase the result of something that's arbitrary, like a stat, you're never going to succeed in your mind. If you go out there and win, even if you lost personally, I promise you it'll pale in comparison some numbers that are arbitrary with you not winning.
Right. And I just think that old school, whether it was by design or not, that old school of just playing the game because you love it,
Mhm.
like that's how every kid is. And
Mhm.
like some of us also didn't know stats. Like there could be a kid right now playing here in New Jersey. It doesn't know his stats. That could be the next Michael McKenry or even the next Todd Helton.
Mhm.
And they don't care. They just want to play the game. And that's what I love about guys like you and like the folk heroes of Pittsburgh, whether it is in baseball or football or hockey, it's the guys that play the game for the love of it. And I
Yeah,
think that's
win
why
today,
we
right?
call you right. You win
Yeah.
today. And that's why we put guys like you in that category of folk hero because you embodied what it meant to be from Pittsburgh.
Appreciate that. I really do. And
Absolutely.
I think there's no other way, especially if you want to have success in life. Because you may reach the peak of the mountain, but you'll fall off.
Yeah.
And the goal is to live on the peaks, not to go up and down, because that's miserable. And being someone that's fallen off and come back up and fallen off, you want to try to find a balance there that you can find those wins that keep you in a more of a plateau state. So
Yeah, for sure. And now I want to move on a little bit. We're going a little fast through this, but I have a reasoning for it. Now I want to know what it was like playing with Yadier Molina, getting to know him. He's regarded as one of the greatest catchers of all time. We've seen it. Me being a Pirates fan, especially, I've seen it because we've had to play against him so many times. But what is he like to be around, to learn the game from?
So, they say the most dangerous man in the room is usually the calmest.
Yeah,
That was Molina.
that's awesome.
Every meeting, every time we did work outside, anything we did, he just had a slow heartbeat.
Yeah,
Honestly, I wanted to check at one point if he had a heart or if he was smoking a lot of ganja. I wasn't sure. But there was something that was different about him, and he was a really good listener. He always stayed through the end of any meeting we were in. He's never in a rush. And he was always prepared. And I don't think you can ask for anything more out of a star player, someone that's calm, cool, collected. And when you're around him, you almost calm down yourself. Like, he's got it, but
yeah,
he doesn't make you feel inferior. I didn't catch, I was there for almost 6 weeks. I didn't catch a lick. It's Yadier. He catches every day.
right,
And
right.
I knew that, but I knew my place. And that was the cool part about being a part of the Cardinals organization, is like, they didn't keep anything hidden from me. Here's why you're here. This will probably not happen, but be prepared for it. And we're going to try to find creative ways to get you extra bats because you're here to hit. And, be on call if we need you behind the plate, but probably not. But they wanted me in the bullpen. They wanted me in the meetings. They wanted me working on trying to steal signs, which I did when we played Pittsburgh. And that was important to them. They knew, what I brought to the table, and they tried to do the best they could to highlight it and also give me opportunities to succeed. And that's all you can ask for. I respect that organization and Yadier Molina. I hope he comes back as a coach. I think it'll be a battle for him to communicate the way he needs to communicate and find that balance. But once he gets it, he'll be great. He's a guy that I think anything he puts his mind to, he'll be great at, because he seems to find a way to slow it down, put it in his own context, and run. And guys that can do that usually are good at just about anything.
Right. And just watching him play as a fan, you see the immense knowledge that he has of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, like you said, he can transition and make that work, because he would be he would add even more to baseball if he was able to come back as a coach. He's already added so much to the game, but to be able to coach would be phenomenal.
Yeah. And my biggest thing is, and it's something I have a hard time with, and I'm not saying I'm even close to his level, is like being able to let the field play out and not have to explain it like he did when he caught.
Mhm.
So if he's a coach, say he's the bench coach next year, he's going to have gut feels that he can't really explain
Right.
that they're going to have to trust because
Right.
like that's how good he is. And that's the
Exactly.
catcher instinct in you is like, you see the game, you're like, I don't know exactly how to explain this right now, but this is what I think, this is what I'm seeing, and just run with it, and
Right.
I think once he finds the balance there of that time, his gut speaking, trust it to maybe pull back a couple times to see if that's exactly what he's feeling. Cause it's different. Even when I got on the other side of the ball, it's like, whoa, this is like so much slower, but you see so much, you want to make sure that you're seeing it properly. Right.
Right.
And that they can see it, that it can be, put in maybe a format that the player understands it, or the front office or whoever needs to understand it understands it.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even see it that way, as like having the gut feeling and not knowing how to tell your team, like, hey, this is what I see, this is what's gonna happen. I saw it as he'd have a hard time transitioning into like being a coach, like, like knowing when to push somebody hard, knowing when to back up. Because someone who's such a high level athlete that demands so much of themselves, I feel like it's hard for them to demand out of their players and just like kind of not demand so much at once. That's how I thought you were trying to say that, but that makes a lot more sense. That's why you were the baseball player, not me.
Yeah, but I mean, that's right as well. I mean, one of my biggest defaults in life is wanting more for others than they want for themselves.
Yeah,
When you see potential in somebody, you want to just grab them and yank it out of them. At least that's my personality. And
absolutely.
It's hard when they pretend like they want it or think they want it, but they're not doing the things that they should to actually get it.
Mhm.
That would be hard for them, but that's a standard that's created, within the realm of whether he's a catching coach or bench coach. He creates a realm. And that's why you have so many coaches, because some coaches have to back up and be like, he's not ready for me. At some point, I hope he is. And you just throw
Right.
your little nuggets in there and then just back up and let someone else take him for a little bit of time. Maybe someone that's not as intense, and see where it goes.
So now talking about the future Hall of Famers in Todd Helton and Yadier Molina, and we'll even throw Peyton Manning in there since you did. What is it with those type of athletes that you notice that makes them who they are? Because you have all kinds of major league players across all sports. They're all talented. But what is it with some that just propels them to another level?
Vulnerability, in the sense of they, at a young age, are willing to go after it and fail over and over again to create the courage they need to put them on a pedestal of success that they can stay on. There's a term that I use often, is discomfort is a wise teacher. And if you're not willing to get into that uncomfortable place and get used to it, you're never going to have real success at an elite level. Because you'll never know who you are and you'll never know what you're actually capable of. I always say people need to find their capacity, and that's capacity for success. That's capacity for love, hate, all of it. So they know the threshold that they can live in. And then when you get close to that threshold, you got to back off and find the balance to level those things out. I mean, emotions are the best way to go into it, is if you don't understand, when you need a minute, like your girlfriend or your wife is just wearing you to pieces and you're like, I just got to take a second. You walk.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I go walk. I take a deep breath, and I come back, and it's like my thoughts have slowed down and I can have a true conversation. If I went at it any other way, it's not going to be a productive conversation, because
Right.
my wife is way smarter than me and I'm going to speak too fast and speak in circles, and it's going to go nowhere. So I think it's being willing to identify who you are in a uncomfortable way, because the only way to really get honesty, self-evaluation, is to be vulnerable from the inside out. I think that's what those guys have that are different, and the way they get there is completely different.
Absolutely.
Obviously, if you look at all their backgrounds, completely different, but it's getting there some way, shape, or form, and you have to. to do anything in life that's going to be meaningful is get to that area, and everybody's threshold's different. You have to grow that threshold. You just be where you are and then just continue to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger.
Awesome. Yeah. Like you said, the capacity thing, I never knew how to describe it, but that's perfect. Cause with the having to take a walk, I think anybody who's in a relationship has had that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I got to take a walk. I'll be
Mhm.
back. But even in other aspects of life, just being like, hey, I got to take a minute, got to reel it in, and let's attack it. I never had the words for it, but I'm glad that you brought them here today.
Yeah, no problem. And two, like, think about it. Like, you work all the time. You focus so hard and you're chasing something so big. You also need a chance to disengage. And
Yeah.
whether that is an active recovery, Todd Helton would go hunting and kind of be able to go somewhere and let his mind heal from all the emotional turmoil, all the physical turmoil, everything that happens over a 162. And especially in Colorado where you don't, take in oxygen the same way, your blood doesn't oxidize the same way, so you don't recover as well. Everybody talks
Right.
about how baseball is like playing on the moon in Colorado, but they don't talk about recovery. They don't talk about the longevity that those guys have a harder time dealing with and staying healthy. I mean, Troy Tulowitzki is probably the greatest example. Maybe would have been the best shortstop of all time if
Yep.
he didn't play in Colorado. And that stinks, but you have to look at it for what it is and kind of take a different perspective at times to say, what do I need? What's different? How can I, move forward in a positive way?
Yeah, that's a great point with Tulowitzki. I never thought of that. But let's transition into your transition from player to coach. How did that occur? And just break it down. Tell me how, like, what interest did you have with coaching? Like, why was that the path?
Honestly, I think that's what I was from the get-go. I just happened to be good enough to play. So
Right.
I think people that play and go through some ups and downs, some trials and tribulations, maybe take some tough licks. Hurdle calls it the 3 bad bounces. And I would say that's yearly. And you take those bounces, and the best coaches take those bounces and say, what did I learn from these that can create betterment for the person that comes next? And that way you can, if you're a player, you can take a step forward and maybe even leap over a failure or a opportunity that I missed because I'm teaching you as much as I possibly can through, my experiences, my understandings, and then saying, what do you feel? How do you feel? And then try to help you contextualize what's going on in the moment and jump forward. And if you're a great student or a great coach, you're always asking questions. You're always questioning what you're actually saying, what you actually believe. So that way it becomes more finite, becomes more true, more real. And once you have a great conviction into anything, that enthusiasm, I think, just almost regurgitates on somebody and they can't even not take it. So that enthusiasm really helps someone get to the next area where they need to go. Because if you show excitement into anything and emotion into anything, that's going to allow the person that you're working with to have the same excitement, same emotion, and you're going to feed off that. We're
Right.
emotional beings. We're always going to feed off that. So I think I was always a coach. I've been told since I was a kid that I was an extension of the staff in a way I didn't understand. And, as I got older, I saw myself falling into that, especially my last couple of years. In 2014, I was running the pitching meetings, the advanced scouting meetings. I did some bullpens and stuff because we had some issues there. So I was doing things that are unorthodox. And then my last year that I was going to play in 2018, I ended up walking away. I never say I retired. I walked away professionally because I always want to remember I can still go play. Most of the opportunities I got, and the main opportunity I wanted was with LA. And I thought it was my greatest chance to win a World Series. and probably catch a no-hitter are 2 things that I wanted to do before I retired or walked away professionally. And they wanted me in meetings. They wanted me to come down early, and they wanted me to do all these things that were different. And I had teams ask me to mentor some of their better players, and saw the writing on the wall. You know, I knew that's where it was going. I definitely didn't see myself going into the media side, but I still want to coach. I still feel the need to coach. I've gotten into life coaching, started to mentor guys from all walks, and that's been fun. And I'm trying to find the balance to where I can impact in a way that is good for the human being so they can go make an impact of their own.
Right. Now, having those teams, kind of, you said you saw the writing on the wall with what everybody was telling you. I mean, was that hard for you to hear?
No, not at all. And the reason being, I think it's a compliment. I think if I look at it as objectively as I can, it was a huge smack in the face for the little kid in me that wanted to play 10 more years in the big leagues.
Yeah.
But it was also a pat on the back of I've created some really good relationships. I've impacted enough people that they actually believe in me and they want to pour into me and help me grow into something that I don't see maybe yet. And that was cool. But sometimes in any business, especially at an elite level, there's underlying things that are going on that you have to look at too. And maybe it's for their, actual benefit that they're doing it and you don't see it. And then you're into it and you have to be like, oh man, completely swung and missed here. So I try to look at things from all different angles, from their perspective, from an outsider's perspective. I ask a lot of questions, especially outside of an organization. I feel like that's how you really learn. And then really I want to know what the human being's like. So if I'm going to get myself into anything, I want to know, what's their background? How have they treated people in the past? What business dealings have they done? How have they mentored coaches to get them to maybe a next level? And once I understand that, then I make those decisions. Obviously I've been doing that for a while now, after playing, but it's a tough business to get in and stay in when you are completely transparent. So
yeah,
I want to do it right when I do it.
Absolutely. And then, so how did the whole Team USA thing come about? I believe you're coaching the 18U.
Yeah, that was just phase 1. I'm doing a catching camp in December. I don't know where it's going to go. I have goals for it, but in 2009, I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, playing a AA. I got invited to play on the Team USA World Cup team. So every couple years or every year they do a Pan Am Games. I think it's every 2 years. And pro guys, 40 man guys get invited to go. I got invited. The day after I got invited, I believe I took a foul ball off my bicep. It pinched my ear. When it pinched my ear, the top part of my ear was hanging off. I didn't know. I was like, what? And I thought it was just sweat, but there's blood all over me. So they made me get out of the game. I was absolutely frustrated because I hated coming out of games. I go to the hospital, and when they're sewing up my ear, they went to numb that part of my, I guess, neck all the way up my ear. They hit a nerve. I had a seizure.
Oh.
So I woke up and there's 10, 15 doctors all around me. And I'm like, hey, is Jacqueline okay? Is she okay? That's my wife's name.
Right.
Because she was crying and I didn't know what happened, because when that happens, it knocks you out. Well, they diagnosed me with epilepsy and beat it, nerd. So I was stuck here in AA, just invited to Team USA, which was a dream of mine. And then the Rockies say you can't go. So I'm like, yeah, right. So see 3 neurologists, finally get my driver's license back, because in the state of Oklahoma, they take away your driver's license and your ability to work. I had to get all these tests, didn't have seizures. And all this is based off, I had seizures as a kid, premature seizures and vaccine-induced seizures as a kid. So it was in my history. So they thought, maybe this is what it is. But it was really the hospital protecting themselves. And I didn't know that at the time. Could have been a huge lawsuit. I'm glad it wasn't because it would have been too much. But I wrote letters. My wife wrote letters, begged to go. They wouldn't let me go. Well, Team USA ended up going to Europe, winning the World Cup, getting that gold medal. The guy that actually filled in for me or replaced me hit the home run to win the game.
Oh, wow.
So that was near and dear to my heart forever. And I've said it for years since. I want to put that uniform on. I want to be a part of that. I want to win a gold medal. Knowing that I couldn't do it as a player, I looked for opportunities to just say it to people. And then finally, I mentioned it to one or two people that threw my name in a hat. One of them being Jack Wilson. And I was unanimously voted into the coaching staff of that PDP league. And I guess it went well. So next step, I'm going to get to do a catching event in Houston with some of the elite catchers. So they invite, I think, 14, 15 through the 17 U catchers across the country. They come into Houston and get to work with them. And I've done some events in the past, but actually being a part of that staff is really important to me. And one day I'm going to win a gold medal. I said that at the event. That's how I introduced myself. I said, Michael McKenry had a gold medal stolen from me. And one day I'm going to win a gold medal. Thank you. And I sat down. Everybody else was elaborate. And that's all I wanted to say. Cause I think if you speak things into existence, they happen. And I wanted to put it out there. And so that's the ultimate goal is I want to represent and I want to be crying like a baby on that platform. And now knowing that 2028, I'm going to do everything I can. Yeah. Why not?
We're circling the calendar. 2028 LA.
Goal.
Let's do it.
Yep.
I was just about to bring that up. That's to see you get there would be amazing. And I mean, obviously there's immense talent around the world, but I just think the US, I feel like they'll have a great shot. And with you on that staff, even better. So
I appreciate it. Yeah. And here's something that's crazy, Cody, is when it comes to the whole package. So youth level all the way through professional level, we're not number one in the world anymore. And it's not Dominican. It's not Venezuela. It's China, Japan, US. And I want you to just swallow that for a minute, right? That's sad. America's pastime is not number one in the US. So that's why I think 2028 is so huge for us, is because I hope that they allow the best players in the world. So the Dominicans, the Venezuelas, the Mexicos can come out and play. And it can showcase very similar to how the World Baseball Classic does in a way that we maybe don't understand. But the reason it is that way is because you see the divide here in the United States. Well, if we win a gold medal at 16U, 15U, 12U, right? Do you know where we placed in 18U this year? Of course you don't, right? So that's the sad part. Well, we didn't win. We didn't even medal in the 18U. They had a parade in the other countries that won a medal, a national parade. That's the difference. That's the pride they take in where they're from. And that's what we've lost. And I hope it comes back because it should be, we live in the greatest place in the world. Let's act like it. And, wearing red, white, and blue is, I think, the epitome of being able to say, this is awesome. We should be so grateful.
Yeah, I think also, like, obviously, like, I feel like everybody takes pride in where they're from. But also, I feel like those countries, China and Japan, they have taken so much pride in the game of baseball.
Correct.
So, like, obviously, it sucks to be third on that list. But you also look at what they're doing over there and how serious they take the game. I want to just go to Japan and see a baseball game for how wild it gets. It's like football in America to them. And, like, I think the World Baseball Classic brought a little bit of that back. The U.S. got to the championship, fell short. Amazing way that it ended for what it was, the story. You couldn't have wrote that. I mean, you could have, but I think that was the only way to write it.
Yeah,
honestly.
No doubt.
But even myself, like, I don't pride myself as a baseball fan. I pride myself as a Pirates fan. But to watch the World Baseball Classic and how important it was and how big it was in the media at the time, I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there for it, to the U.S. being back on top in baseball, for the game to be celebrated, and it's getting there. And
I
I
love
can't
that.
wait to see it get there.
I love that.
And,
Yeah, I think so too.
just obviously, I'm a little biased because, like, I quote unquote work for a baseball podcast. But when I started working with the guys at North Shore 9, I told them, I said, I'm not going to be on the podcast. You guys know way more about baseball than I do. Like, I don't bring anything to the table other than like technical stuff. And now being around them, they're talking about it all the time. And I'm like, I still don't understand it, but I understand the passion. And I think that's what's lost with baseball is the passion. Because, I mean, with football, every Sunday, like, more than half of America is tuned into CBS, Fox, or NBC to watch football. And I really hope that baseball can get there again, because growing up, even me watching the Pirates being so lowly and terrible, for lack of a better term, I still loved watching the Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
I loved watching baseball. And somewhere along the way, that pride for the game fell short. And I feel it. I feel it coming back.
Here's something that I heard the other day from Savannah Bananas assistant coach or associate head coach. I think his name is Andrew. He said Major League Baseball's lost the intimacy of the game and the ability to have that spring training effect all year long. And you think about the nets that went up. You think about how much separation from COVID that the players got from the media and they got from the fans. It's sad, but that's the next phase of where baseball needs to go. Is they got to brand these players like crazy. The players got to do it themselves. MLBPA's got to do it, and then MLB's got to do it, and they've got to come together as a collective and figure out a way to do it together, which is very, very difficult. And I think it will take off because I see the NBA, I see the NFL. They do an incredible job getting those guys' names out. Like everybody knows certain guys in both leagues. Well, they need to start knowing certain guys in Major League Baseball. I mean, especially what's been going on the last couple of years. I mean, the Cunha Mookie Betts thing was not big enough for me.
Yeah,
it should have been huge what they were doing. It was unprecedented in today's game. Like average, power, speed, defense, all of it. All of it.
I was at work the night that Acuna, he set the record for steals or something. It was like 70 steals, 40 home runs.
40 homers, yeah.
He said, like, he got the 70 steals, and I was at work, and I asked a coworker, I know she's a Yankees fan. I asked her, I was like, I know you're a Yankees fan, but are you like a baseball fan? Like, do you appreciate the game? And she was like, it's, I'm kind of just a Yankees fan. I'm like, oh, well, this guy just did this, and it's ridiculous. And she was like, oh, okay. And, like, that's what you're saying, the intimacy with the game. And it's like Yankees fans of all people are some of the most rabid fans. They know everything about the team. They're like, I compare Yankees fans to Steelers fans in Pittsburgh. They know the name of the bench coach's uncle. Like, they know these things.
Mm-hmm.
And for a fan who's like a diehard to not understand what's going on around the league is kind of wild. And like you said, it needs to be marketed. I think it also starts with the teams themselves. Like, we've had conversations internally about, like, trying to connect with the team and get credentials, just so we know we're not reporters. That's not our job. We want to make your team look good by having them come on this platform, and we don't even want to talk about baseball. We just want to get to know the guy, And that's where it starts, is the team they're drafted to, and then from there out, it's on the league and it's on the individual. And I think once that's understood amongst all those groups, the popularity of the game is going to get back to what it was in the 90s. Because you have guys now, sorry, I'm going on a rant. You have guys now who are coming close to doing the things the guys in the 90s did, and the guys in the 90s were cheating.
Yeah,
and now you have guys who
steroids.
Right. Yeah. Cocaine and steroids, baby. It was all the rage back in the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Now You got guys who are just taking care of their bodies and they're able to do the same thing and for longer. And I think once people understand that about baseball and this transition into the new age of it, and with the new roles and the pitch clock, which pitch clock I was off of, but then once the season started, I was in. I was like, this is great. Like, you talk about intimacy. I think that's what people thought it was going to take away, was the intimacy of like being in the moment. I think it made the moment even bigger, each pitch. But that's another conversation for another time. But yeah, I really hope that the game is able to grow and fast.
Yeah, and it is. I just go back to that plateau comment. I hope it steadily rises and doesn't plateau. But more importantly, I hope it doesn't fall the wrong direction.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
when good things happen, because a lot of things went right with all these rule changes, everything that happened this past year, don't double down. Take a moment and just swallow this goodness and then come back and figure it out. Like, that's not business that they want to hear, but that's sustainable in my opinion. Because
they want dollar signs. They don't want sustainability.
Right. And there's plenty of places to find your dollars without constantly revamping the game.
Right. I agree. So now let's get into the media. Let's get into the stuff that I love to talk about. You and Jack Wilson now do a podcast every once in a while because Jack's a busy guy. He's coaching
busy.
Grand Canyon now.
Oh, not anymore. Not anymore.
Where is he now?
No, now he's with USA Baseball, Appalachian League, and a consultant. So
still super busy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. My goal is to get a podcast out once a month with him.
There you go.
That's my goal.
All you can ask for.
Well, yeah, because like it really is amazing how busy he is, because he is such a genuine guy, and he is absolutely all in to where his feet are. And you can't say that about a lot of people. When he's at home, he's dad. When he's on the field, he's coach. When he's out with his buddies, he's a buddy. And he's really good at it. One of the best I've seen. I'm sure it can be frustrating for people if they don't know who he is, because he'll text you at the last minute and say, yes, here we go. But I love it about him. I really do. I think it's really cool to see what he's trying to do and where he's going. He's going to be phenomenal when he gets into the higher levels at college, and he's going to win a College World Series in the near future. Once his kids get out of school, I think you're going to see some great things from him.
Yeah, I was listening to your guys' podcast, Flash Forward.
Mm-hmm.
Great name, by the way.
Thank you. It's all Mikey Welsh at AT&T. Also did the graphics, so nailed it.
Oh, shout out! But I was listening to your guys' pod. I can't remember if it was the first or the second episode, but it was Jack. He was talking about coaching and coaching his son. Mm-hmm. His son just now got drafted this past year. And I love, like you're talking about him having his feet where he's at. It was cool to listen to him talk about how he wanted to coach his son. And, him getting in the car and being like, you know what? We're not talking about the game. I'm going to be your dad. That whole conversation blew me away. I thought it was perfect. It was awesome. That's just me praising your podcast. You guys do great work over there, and you always ask him great questions.
I appreciate that. And what's crazy is it's the best way to find out, even if they're not related to you. Let them open the door. Let them ask the questions. And until then, just ask some questions in a roundabout way to maybe spark that interest and see where it goes. Because I think today's society thinks, especially in the sports realm, every kid's Mike Trout. They're not, right? The chances of you going to college is 1 in 250,000 or something out of high school. The chance of you getting a Pro Bowl is like getting struck by lightning, or major leagues. It just gets harder and harder. And I think take it for what it is now. It's a chance to grow into a better human being, learn how to create some discipline and good habits, and work with people that are around you, and be a just a quality person with good character. And I think if that becomes more of the shift into the good focus, the other stuff's going to play out on its own. Because if you enjoy being there, you're going to want to be good at it. And once you start to show some signs that you're good, you're going to be convicted that you want to be better. And then that confidence conviction is going to take you to a whole nother level, no matter what you do in life. And I think that's kind of what Jack was saying when, he would just kind of say, so how was your day? Just whatever, listen to music, and then let his son open up the door instead of him saying, what were you thinking? That 2-1 swing on that breaking ball. No, like if you allow it, they'll come in due time. So.
Right. And just like you guys doing the podcast has been great. I think you guys connecting, I know you told the story on your podcast of how you guys connected at a fantasy camp, but just for you to bring his personality out and for Pittsburgh fans that loved him back in the day to be able to get to know him. Like, I feel like every former player is now doing a podcast, but I think we all say thank you when you bring Jack Wilson back to the forefront with this podcast. But what is your favorite part about doing Flash Forward?
It was a challenge for me. When I was a kid, I had learning disabilities. I've said this a bunch on different podcasts. But it gave me a deep fear of speaking in front of people. I got made fun of because I was always behind in reading and spelling. I had a version of dyslexia. So like I made a ton of mistakes. I was a terrible writer. And I had to learn my own processes. All that to be said is it wasn't until college until I let that go. I could get in front of people, but I would start dancing. I learned how to dance really well in high school, so I didn't have to talk, or I'd make fun of myself. And that wasn't sustainable. It wasn't good for my personality. It wasn't good for my morale. So in college, when I started dating my wife, she was a communications major. And she was the first person that really pushed me to think differently and think how smart I am with what I have. I had a couple teachers that did that, but I took a speech class and she pushed me into this class with this lady, and I did not want to take the class. And my first speech, she kind of knew where I was, where I stood with all of it. And she just said, I want you to throw out everything that we've talked about, the outline, drawing it up properly. She goes, I want you to speak on something you're super confident in, super comfortable with. Well, lo and behold, I came in with a guest. I came in with props, equipment. I did everything that nobody else did because I was so nervous, and I went above and beyond. And I got an A, and I ended up getting 100 in the class. And it taught me to start doing things a different way. In my way, I'd still do the outline that she talked and everything, that I'd throw it out the window. So I wouldn't rely on it, and I would memorize it. I'd forget things, but I learned a lot. And then as I got older, I just threw myself into it as much as I possibly could. Go read for Reading of America when I was a junior in college, which was terrifying when you mess up on kids' books. It's very demoralizing at first, but you make fun of yourself, they laugh at you, you move on, you grow from it. And then that goes all the way through pro ball. I did as much as I possibly could, especially when I got hurt. And the one thing I didn't do was an interview format. Learning how to ask quality questions and pull out people's personalities. So that's why doing what I'm doing, Jack, is so much fun for me. Is I'm learning the technical side of all this. I'm learning how to set up format and maybe even produce a show. I know how to do the pre and post game and broadcast. It's a different animal here, and like thinking about it in different segments, looking at the analytics and kind of saying, oh, we can get a sponsor if we went to here or there, and decided not to as of now. But just learning the ins and outs. I think growing is something that we should never stop doing. And
Absolutely.
Our biggest growth comes through the fear we face. So that was a fear for me. And I got confident as I went, and I feel pretty convicted by doing it now and just kind of let it play out.
Yeah. And I think, doing a podcast with somebody you get to know and you've gotten to know, being able to like just pick their brain and kind of workshop your processes of interviewing somebody through that medium, it helps immensely.
Yeah, and two, like you probably feel this way as you go forward. Is like, what a incredible platform to learn from. So like the other day I had Clint Hurdle on. Time before that I had Andy Bass on. I haven't released these yet. They're going to be a different segment, but just bantering with those human beings about life, about coaching, about how to impact people is phenomenal. And I hope to eventually turn it into bringing on people I don't agree with and having a great conversation and just seeing where it goes. I just want to be open to a great conversation and good dialogue and try to learn something, whether I believe it or not. I think you learn the most when you are willing to talk about it, especially if you don't believe it, because you're going to understand a perspective that you couldn't see for yourself. I think that's so important, especially in baseball and maybe even more so in life, and 10 times that in any type of religious format. You know, a deep belief of anything, you should always be asking questions, especially if it's something you believe.
Yeah. Now, how about Clint Hurdle, huh? Did he just get Twitter?
Yeah. So I can't remember who it was that said he should do it, and he's so perfect for it. He's got Instagram too. Yeah, he's great at it. Yeah, he always has those hurdleisms. He probably has a huge binder of cool quotes and stories and stuff. He still sends out a mass text and email. He has his website now that you can sign up for. But yeah, he's a great human, great leader of men, doing some really cool things. And one of my favorite things he just said recently was, I signed a lifetime contract with the home team. Because obviously with all these coaching roles out, you know, his name's being thrown around. And he said, no, I'm signed with the home team right now. Thought that was pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, no, I just I find it funny because, you know, Tyler, he reached out to him on Twitter because Clint Hurdle followed Tyler out of nowhere. He reached out to him to come on NS9, and he didn't get back to him for a couple days. And Hurdle finally gets back to Tyler, and he's just like so like professional, like prim and proper, like, hey, I've gotten a lot of requests. I really appreciate you wanting me on your show. We'll try and work something out soon. And for someone like Tyler is a funny guy.
Yes, he is.
And just for and for someone to talk to Tyler like that, to me, is funny because like it's Tyler. Like, why are we treating Tyler with professionalism?
Yep. He didn't know any better.
It.
Yeah, he didn't know any better though. So
not that Tyler doesn't deserve professionalism, but it's Tyler.
Yeah, exactly. We know you're watching, Tyler.
Yeah, we know. He already asked me. He's like, "Oh, are you doing your podcast tonight?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Where can I watch it?" I go, "I'm recording it." He's like, "Oh." He's seen us talk about it in the group chat. He's like, didn't know anything about it. It's like, all right.
It is what it is. Yeah. So good.
But anyway, speaking of like Clint Hurdle, obviously you're friends with Andrew McCutchen. But outside of baseball, who is the most famous Pittsburgh icon you've ever had an interaction with? And what was that interaction like?
Oh, man.
I'm sure there's been tons. Everybody wants to talk to you.
It's a great question. I'm not good at this. My wife usually helps me out. Let me think about that. Because I'm not really sure off the top of my head. There's been some incredible people, because like I met a successful speaker and entrepreneur at the school of the deaf fundraiser, who's from Pittsburgh, and he's ventured out. There's so many cool people from Pittsburgh that you don't realize. So like to narrow it down is so tough to put it in context. I mean, every person I have met that's from Pittsburgh, famous or not, has that hometown love, respect, and they're just a different breed. I say that Pittsburgh's the smallest big city in the world. And
Absolutely.
it's a southern city, in my opinion. So, I mean, just the other day, I'm on a financial call about an investment, and dude's from Pittsburgh, and you could just feel it. Like, then we start bantering about Pittsburgh and, you know, all the ins and outs. He hadn't been back in a while, but his heart was still here, but he lives in Colorado. Tough place to live. So it was cool. It's always neat to, you know, talk about this city. And now that it's home, it's even cooler for me.
Yeah, I just, I feel like everybody has a story. Like anybody in Pittsburgh has a story about bumping into somebody. Like for me, I was with my aunt. We were heading to Kansas City for Steelers Chiefs playoff game. And we're sitting in, a makeshift like knockoff Permane Brothers at the airport. And we're sitting there and my aunt is not looking at me. I'm like, what are you looking at? She's looking at the bar. I'm like, what are you looking at? And she goes, that's Bill Cowher. I go, no way. So I turn around and I go, that's Bill Cowher. And we're like, oh, we don't want to bother him. Like maybe before we leave, we can ask for a picture. And other people at the bar are like joking with him. So we're like, okay, he's okay with people talking to him. So we go up to him and my aunt is like, super Steeler fan. She's a super Steeler fan. She lived in Arizona for like 40 years. And she had a Steelers room. Like I went and visited her. There was a Steelers room, Steelers chairs, Steelers TV, Steelers toothpicks, whatever you can get that has a Steeler logo on it. And she's just like telling him like, you got to get back to Pittsburgh. I can't do it with Tomlin anymore. I'm like, hey, settle down. Let's just get a picture and let the man finish his drink. So we go to take the picture, and I'm the young one, so I'm already the tech savvy. They label me as tech savvy. At the time I just found out you can use the plus button on your volume to take a picture. So I was like, oh, I'll do that instead of like fidgeting with having a weird selfie. So I do it. I look at the picture, very blurry. I was like, you can't even tell it's Bill Cowher. And my aunt's still going, oh, you need to come back, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Mr. Cowher, we need to take the picture again. And I got the all out under chin, like, you kidding me? Just a look. He didn't say anything. He just gave me the classic Bill Cowher. He's like, yeah, we can do it. I was like, thank you. And did it. Blurry again. I was like, have a nice day.
Yeah.
We'll see you later.
Yeah. Things happen. Yeah.
But that's
cool.
I feel like everybody in Pittsburgh, you run into somebody famous, you have a funny story like that.
Yeah. I'm pretty new here when it comes to actually living here. So maybe I'll get somebody different here soon. But yeah, I'm always surprised when I meet people. Like I don't know the rich history and everybody that's from here. I missed seeing Michael Keaton when he was here, which I really regret. But yeah, I'll let you know the day I meet somebody. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're from Pittsburgh. Sick. Yeah.
Right.
So.
But yeah, just wanted to know. But what is it like working with a guy like Rob King or Dan Potash, who are folk heroes in their own right? I feel like that's the word of the day is folk hero. Those guys are folk heroes in their own right on the television side. What's it like working with those guys?
It's phenomenal. I'll even throw Robbie Inspicale, everybody over there.
Oh,
Stan Saturn.
I have a Robbie autograph. Do you know that?
I did not.
Where's that? It's right here. There goes my beer can. He signed it on the Rawlings logo, so I couldn't write any checks with his name on it. But I also got Bednar and the Pirate Parrot on there.
That's funny.
But yeah, that was a fun time. That was at spring training. I got him to do that.
That's good.
But Robbie's the man.
Yeah, it really is. So they're all different. We'll go with Robbie first. He's a big part of why I'm on TV. So when I was hurt in 2013, he asked if I'd want to fill in for Teak for a day. And I went in, I filled in against everything I wanted to do. I knew I should. My wife kind of gave me a nudge. My mom gave me a nudge. My mom doesn't really give many nudges, but I think my wife kind of pushed her too. So I did it, and then they ended up asking me to do it while he was gone the entire time. So I did it for 10 days. And it was during a really tough time being hurt away from the team, 2013. So it was somewhere to put my focus, and I enjoyed it. I worked with Stan, I worked with Rob King during that time. And Robbie kind of started that. And then when I guess got a call in 2017, I wasn't playing that well, but we ended up winning the national championship. They called and asked if I'd want to interview for Teak's opening spot. And I was like, thanks for thinking about me since I'm playing so well. And I said, we'll get back to this in this season. Thought, why not? Let's go do it. Not sure what I want to do. And did the interview, got the job, and they gave me a lot of time to figure it out. And a big reason why I took the job is because of guys like Rob King, Robbie Spikowski, and everybody else that works there. They're just a family. And I watched that family get torn to shreds over the last 6 years. I mean, whether it be downsizing, transition, COVID, all the vaccine policies, all the moving pieces with how to figure that out with everybody being at home and just a group of us there every single day, skeleton squad. The skeleton squad carried over even after COVID because we did such a good job. And what business wants to hire more workers if it's working, to not really knowing who we're working for all year last year and throwing together a product that was really good with minimal understanding of a budget and understanding of what we can and can't do. It was crazy. So I got to see a lot of ups and downs, turmoil, fighting. A lot of people passed away over the last couple of years, which is really sad. So that family got torn to pieces. But at the very end, after our last game, we all met and hung out. And it was the closest I'd been to a type of camaraderie since my playing days that I could explain. So I'll be forever grateful for them. I'll be forever grateful for what I've learned from them and working with them. I hope to be back with some of them in the future. Don't know what that holds for them or for me. So just kind of letting it all play out. But yeah, they're special beings. They love what they do. I think when it comes to baseball, there's nobody on the planet better than Rob King and Greg Brown. Joe Block's very good, but those two have a different element because it doesn't matter where you put them. They seem to bring some type of life and enthusiasm to what they're doing that is infectious to the people around them. So yeah, Cody can say I was blessed to be able to fall into that. I really was. And I'm very appreciative, and I'm excited to see what the future holds, even though it's very uncertain.
And that's awesome to hear that those guys worked like that, like a family, and the camaraderie that you guys all had. And like, I feel like that's how you get the best product is whenever you, in this industry, because I also work in TV. And when you have that kind of camaraderie, everything comes together. When you have each other's back, when you pick each other up when you're down, no matter what it is, baseball, work, life. That's how you get stuff done.
Yeah, and I just pray that the handcuffs can be taken off, because the handcuffs for especially baseball has been on since 2020. Being able to have those off and have real resources and a real company like a Nesson, maybe an MLB. I know those are the two that are fighting for the Pirates broadcast. I hope in my personal gain, I hope it's Nesson, at least for the short term. I think it's going to be better for the region. I think it's going to be better for the Pirates fans, because I think the further you get away from the region, you lose the personal aspect of it. You lose the feel of what's on the ground, the small businesses that are sponsorships, the segments at North Shore Tavern. All those little things just die. Inside Pirates baseball, all that stuff would just kind of go away because MLB doesn't care about that. And that's no knock to what MLB wants to do. They just want to do something completely different. And it's more of a long-term approach and a sustainable approach. So we'll see what happens, but I would love to see what we would be capable of with all the tools and tricks and stuff that we have that we weren't able to use, like the 4K camera, the thing that spins around the hitter. How often I wanted to use that. And we had 38, 39 views of every game. We only got 16 at most. to pull from. So like a lot of them had different effects and different things, but we didn't have enough people operating it to
Right.
be able to switch the systems in and out. And you understand all this stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy to think what we're able to do. But it's sad also to think about how hard it was on some of those people that were working endlessly and relentlessly to put the product out, and then knowing that they either got fired or let go or are in limbo to see what's next. Because when someone else buys you, you don't know what they've been up to. You don't know what they've been doing. You don't get paid for what you did. You get paid for what you're going to do, except
Right.
if you're a baseball player. You get paid for what you did.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I'm excited for the future no matter what, because I think it's going to be neat whatever God knits together.
Yeah. I mean, I know all of Pittsburgh is hoping that you come back. They're hoping that everybody comes back.
Mhm.
It's all just same stuff, just under another umbrella, because I think that's what, like you said, being as close to the area as possible is what's going to give you the best product. And like, that's what makes me realize, like, growing up, you watch the Stan Savran special about him, or like the stuff about his interviews, and you get the top 10, what was it called? The Pirates. It was after the post game. It was like the Pirates breakdown or something like that.
Top 10 pitching performance all time, like stuff
You
like
have
that.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have stuff like that. And just the coverage of the teams, all the teams, whether it was Pirates, Penguins, Pitt football, not as much, because I don't think they were allowed to, at the time, like, be in the locker room with a camera. I'm talking like late 2000s. I don't think they did that yet. But the access that we were able to see from people who understood what we wanted to see is unprecedented. And I think that is said across the league for anybody who has a regional network that's close to them. Like me living here in New Jersey, I get to see the Yes Network. I get to see SNY and how personable they are to the region. Like, Yes Network has John Boy on their network because they know those guys like to talk about the Yankees, and they do it well. And, to be able to see stuff like that, it makes you want it even more where your heart is. And my heart's in Pittsburgh.
That's my hope. For you guys at North Shore 9, talked to you guys about it extensively, is like, that's my hope for the regions. They get a different avenue so they can bring in a younger market. That John Boy has it for a reason. Outkicked is something I do, hot mic in Nashville. I go on as an analyst for the MLB, and it's really, really neat. It's a different outlook. It's a different chance to get a different perspective, and I'm from a different region. But I think that's so important, to be able to open up really Pandora's box for the fans to get what they want. And whether it's on a TV or an app or on a podcast, in my opinion, it should be everywhere. Wherever you like to see the things you like to see, it should be there. And I hope that's where it's going. MLB's got to sign off on it, but they can allow NESN to do that, and they would still get their, piece of the pie. But it's a business, and it's a dog eat dog world. So we'll just wait and see.
Yeah. Well, I think we've come to the end, but I still have one more thing for us to do. I put together a little kind of trivia game, and I need you to tell me if something is a fort or a pirate.
Ooh.
There's a game I like to call Fort or Pirate.
I like it. Fort or pirate.
So how this is going to work is, full disclosure, I didn't realize how many forts and pirates there were in like history. So to make it a little easier, I only used forts in Pennsylvania and Tennessee because I figured those are the two that you probably have a little more knowledge about. Hopefully.
Yeah, it'd be fun either way.
And then with pirates, I didn't realize how many pirates there were and what the categories of pirates there are.
It's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah. I gave myself a history lesson about it. Like, that's crazy. But anyway, I decided just to do the golden age of pirates. So that's like your Blackbeards, all those types, like the people that you actually know that you might have seen in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Cool.
So
it's a really cool
let's
concept. I like it. Yeah.
This is something we're trying to do, try to keep it specific to each guest, and I think this is perfect for you. So let's get into it. It's gonna be 5 questions, 5 names. So let's get going. First name is Demont. Do we think it's a fort?
It's a fort.
Or do we think it's a pirate? You think it's a fort?
I do.
Do you know it's a fort?
I don't. I have no clue.
Well, you're wrong. It's a pirate.
Dang it. I was second guessing myself. Look at that dude.
There's no actual picture of this guy. It's hard to find pictures of pirates.
That's definitely the picture. He looks like a Demont.
But that was, I guess this is from like an extension of the One Piece anime. That's where I got the picture. And I'm like, I'm not into anime, but sure. It's the only picture I could find. So that's what we're using.
I like it. Dang it.
But Demont, yes, he was a pirate. So 0 for 1.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the next one. Macintosh. Is it a fort or is it a pirate?
A computer. A fort.
Not wrong. You said fort?
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. It's a fort.
Yes.
To be specific, it's the fort in my hometown of Beaver, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
Little fun fact.
I love it.
But there we go. We're 1 for 2. Next name is Carnegie.
Oh, that's definitely a pirate. Wait.
Oh.
I think it could be both, actually.
Fort or pirate?
I'm going to go pirate.
Remember. We're only doing Tennessee and Pennsylvania and then Golden Age. So.
Yeah, I'm going to go pirate.
Okay. I was going to say, I put that disclosure because it could be both, but I only looked at so many pirates.
Yeah, I'm going to go and say there's definitely both for this one.
I'm sure there is, but I only found a pirate. That is not the pirate, but there was no picture of this pirate. But it was on the list. So you're 2 for 3.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got two more. Caesar. Is this a fort or is it a pirate?
I can't say. I have to say fort. I can't say a pirate. Hail Caesar. No, it's got to be a fort.
Well, he was actually a pretty famous pirate because there's actually pictures of him. There's actually pictures of this guy. He was. Oh, okay. His name is Black Caesar, and he was actually part of Blackbeard's crew.
I did not know. See, if you would have put his first name, if you would have put Black Caesar, I would have gotten it right. That's the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I got to make it a little
tricky. Yeah.
All right. So what was that? You're 3 for 4 or 2 for 4?
2 for 4.
2 for 4. On to the last one. Yadier. I think I said it right. I don't know.
I mean, I'm just going to have to say fort because just process of elimination. We've had 3 pirates, 1 fort. This got to be a fort.
You're a smart guy. Yes. You're a smart guy.
I love
this. Is a fort in Tennessee. I forget which county it's in. I don't believe it's near Knoxville, but there you go. Got your Tennessee fort there.
It says near Nashville.
Near Nashville. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, my computer's very far away, so I can't really see what's going on.
yeah, it works. That was awesome. There we go. Appreciate that. That was fun.
So that's it. That's the show. Ended on a fun note. I hope you liked it. I know I had fun putting it together.
Yeah, absolutely. I really did. And I hope the best for you, man. I love what you're trying to do. Hope it grows. And if you want to have round 2, let me know. I'm excited to see where this goes.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. And we'll absolutely have to talk about bringing you back on. But tell everybody what you're doing. Tell them where they can contact you for whatever you want them to contact you for. Don't want you to put your number out there and someone be like, hey, can you mow my lawn? So
not into lawn service. I did do that as a teenager.
Hey, who did?
Not fun at all. The Fort McKenry, fortmckenry.com, all social medias. It's McKenry with a K. And I'm kind of reworking my entire website and what I'm doing. I really want to get into personal development, player development, and just helping, the good people win in life the best I can, help them see it from a different perspective, hopefully. And I'll be doing some speaking at some churches, some schools, and some teams, and then I'll be doing some camps and different things. So if you have any interest in any of it, reach out. A lot of my time's getting soaked up right now, but still have some stuff available. And if nothing else, do a Zoom and find a way. But yeah, hoping to make an impact in this area as much as I can. I really adore Pittsburgh and feel like my heart is maybe ingrained here a little bit now.
All right, Michael Fort McKenry, thank you for bucking around.
Anytime. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. God bless.